buy and sell homes. A federal
All right, I can see some attendees starting to pop in now. Give it a couple seconds as everybody starts to join. Great to see. Welcome everybody to today's webinar. I'm Trenton Bodine, Director of Technology for Tristan and Associates, and I'm delighted here to host a session on the evolving trends in real estate marketing on Google. We're fortunate to have Dan Lott, VP of Client Marketing at CINC, who oversees $30 million in Google lead gen spend for real estate. And today, Dan is here to share his expert insights on key aspects such as the cost of buyer and seller leads, the dynamics of Google's real estate lead value index, and how today's technology and legal changes are influencing our industry. And as we go through this presentation, please feel free to drop any questions into the chat as Richard from CINC will be there to answer them as we go. Before we get started, why don't everybody who's joining us drop into the chat where you guys are from. We always love to see where you guys are joining us from across the world. We usually get some international clients in there. And as people are starting to drop those in, Dan, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit, and then we can get started.
Well, thank you very much, Trenton. Yes, I'm Dan Lott. I'm the VP of Client Marketing for CINC. So I oversee the lead generation team at CINC. And the CINC, if you don't know, is a real estate platform for generating leads and converting them into sales. And we've been around for around 10 years. And we've generated over 30 million leads on behalf of our clients. So we are one of the biggest players in the real estate lead generation business. All right, so today, what I want to talk about is 2023 so far. How's it going? What is driving it? What exactly does drive the cost per lead for real estate leads? And then a couple topics you may know about. The Google lawsuit, which is ongoing, and this, considering the gravity of this issue, it doesn't get a lot of publicity. So I just want to talk a little bit about that and how that could affect you. Talk about AI. This is something that that there's a lot of publicity about this.
AI.
And then a little bit. And then just talk about some of the resources that CINC has that even if you're not a CINC client, you can avail yourself of. I assume all you who are listening have some experience with real estate leads, whether going through one of our competitors, through us, or just doing it on your own through Google or Facebook or whoever. So these could help you, improve your performance. Just piggybacking on what we have done. And so what we have done at CINC is over the last 10 years we've invested millions and millions of dollars in creating these tools for real estate lead generation. And some of the results of this are very applicable to any company. We use it with us, but any client could benefit from it. All right, so how are we doing? Well, here, this is just a slide. That's the team. I got to show off my team. Our lead generation focus is to deliver the most high quality leads in your preferred areas for the least amount of money. And then preferred areas is always very important because it's always very flexible. But that's our crew. All right. So how are we doing? 2023 so far has been pretty good. Last quarter especially was better than I thought it was going to be, and the first half was okay. And there's let me just show you the slides. So what's important here is that in Google Buyer real estate lead generation, the first quarter is by far the best quarter, and then the cost per lead goes up until the fourth quarter, and then it goes back down. It's a cycle. It's almost every year it's been like that. What is interesting this year is we have reversed the trends for the first time in around 5 years. And I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it portends an improvement of the home buying market. But in the third quarter, the cost per lead was better than it was in the second quarter. So that's a really good trend for Google Buyer.
And we've seen that as well. On our data is the nice trend of how that's been switching too.
That's I like the sound of that. So so if it's not just us. And then on the seller side, the value of the cost of seller leads is a lot more. It's like twice, or at least at Google or at CINC it's around twice. But what was good is that last quarter was the best in 2 years. So that's a good trend also. Got little stars there. All right. And I know we're just talking about Google, but as I'm sure Trent could also say that Facebook also has a lower cost per lead in all categories of Facebook buyer, Facebook team listing ads, which is a different type of buyer, that's CINC, which is really, really good. That's $4.30. And then Listcast, which is our marketing. It's all less than Google Buyer, even though the Google Buyer leads is a really good price for the Google Buyer leads. All right. This is something that Tristan has mentioned before, and this is one of the key metrics of what I look at when analyzing, how we are doing and what are some of the trends for the Google Buyer cost per leads. And it's it's really pretty simple. All right, this is over the last 10 years. This is in Google. Actually, which one is this? Oh, this is home. Okay. The two slides are almost identical, so it kind of makes it hard to see. All right, so this is home sales from the last 10 years. Over time, it went up, and then it went down in 2022. This is Googling the phrase homes for sale. It went up, and then it went down at the end. So it's been gradually, there's a very, very, very strong correlation between the number of people who are Googling the phrase homes for sale and the number of homes that are sold. So it's pretty, when you think about it, it's kind of obvious. How does that tie in with the cost per lead?
And it makes sense there, especially with how things are going too, with less people out there shopping for homes, and, they're not going to be searching for them because most people can't afford them at the moment right now.
Yeah, exactly. They're not interested. They know they're priced out of the markets, or the rates are too high, so they're not actively searching. And so this slide goes, it's kind of an inverse way of looking at the cost per lead. It's the amount of leads you can get for $20, but it mirrors exactly the other slides, and it's up, 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 down. We had a couple outliers of years where in 2015 is when CINC started its kind of automation or investing in automation, which caused the cost per lead to go down, the number of leads to go up. 2019, we did another kind of inside our company thing that was really successful. And then 2020, as you know, was an outlier, COVID, which caused the conversion rate in advertising to spike significantly, and which caused the cost per lead to crater. So that's why this is so high. If you take out this bar or like lower it, this would mirror again those two other charts. But all three are correlated very closely. And so why does that matter? It matters because home sales are down this year. So that's why cost per lead is up this year, although it's not as high as I would have expected, considering how high the or how far down the sales are. And then what it means is, for you, next year, probably the cost per lead is going to go up again. And that is just because home sales are expected to decrease again, because there is this, there's no magical bullet to like, oh, well, even though the entire market is showing that the cost per lead should go up, it's really hard to, make something magic happen and make the price go down. But so next year, it probably will go up. The next year, if the forecasts are pointing to it improving, then in 2 years, the cost per lead is going to go down. But if you need more leads, you can go with search advertising or increase your budget. Those are the two. Yeah, increase your Google search budget. Social advertising, we've had a lot of good luck with social advertising. I know there's a stigma attached to it. People say search is always better, but we found that the closing rate on social ads, Facebook, Instagram, is just as good. But so you might want that social is not as correlated to home sales.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note as well as that cost per lead should fluctuate, and what you would think that it would be a lot higher. It's nice to see that it hasn't jumped in a large amount to where maybe it might be $2, $3, $4, $5 more, or we might start to see like a $2, $3, $4 less. And we're noticing as well on, from pay-per-click to Facebook, Instagram, the difference of, where we would have a new listing ad coming at a certain price. Now it's maybe $1 or $2 more, for the buyer leads. Maybe it's like $2 or $3 more. But then we're also starting to see that, at times, depending on what the home is in the price range, that's starting to be where, if it's in that range where it's more of an entry level, it's starting to really pick up and actually like decrease for us. So I'm curious, is that something that you've noticed, in 2023 with the different trends, based on affordability and the home value? Is that changing for you guys?
It's really hard to tell on that. It would stand to reason that it would, but I can't really tell on that. I should have an answer. You should have told me that beforehand. I would have thought of a clever answer. But anyway, so the Google lawsuit, which like 20 years ago, there was a big Microsoft lawsuit, and that was like the lead story on the news every day, was like this big Microsoft lawsuit. And Google, it's impossible to find information about it. There's starting to be more articles about it because the CEO testified a week ago, and there's another trial that he's also testifying on. But this could be a huge deal, and it could fundamentally change online search and online advertising industries. And from Google, it could cause the breakup of Google, which would be a big deal for Google. It'd be broken up. And that could mean like selling off YouTube. You probably know YouTube is owned by Google. And then they could also sell off their display capabilities. I guess that was left over from like DoubleClick or whoever they bought years ago. But anyway, so they have their Google display ad their way of presenting those ads. So that's what could happen from Google's standpoint. But from your standpoint, as an advertiser, what does it mean? And I think this had some very interesting stuff. All right, as I said, it could break up Google. And in general, it's going to make ad buying more complicated. Whatever they decide to do, I assume they're going to do something. If they sell off YouTube, then it's going to require two different systems of two interfaces, things like that. And but the most interesting thing from it is just following the trial and reading the exhibits online and reading the testimony. It's really eye-opening in terms of what the role of Google and in the the advertising industry, and how much of an impact money is on Google, which is surprising for a company that's worth $1 trillion or $2 trillion or whatever. They actually think money is important. But so it's a lot more focused on money than they would lead you to believe. It's not a perfect auction. They always say like, oh, it's a perfect auction. It's like it's all based on these levers, and there's nothing we can do. And they've like released contradictory information where the head of advertising said the exact opposite of what he said at a symposium, a year before or whatever. So they are able to just manipulate the results based on, if they need revenue for a quarter. And just in general, Google advertising is complicated, and they use that to increase their profitability. And so my recommendation to you is to do not just blindly trust what their ad experts say. If you are advertising with Google, you probably have a ad rep or somebody who reaches out to you, and they don't work for Google. They work like, if you look at the bottom of the emails that they send out, there's like a disclaimer. It's like, yeah, we don't work for Google. So they are trying to get you to spend more money with Google. Their suggestions are always either to raise your bids or to raise your budgets, depending on which makes sense. So, I'm not saying they're terrible people, but their goal is to make money, and just take it with a grain of salt. Some of their suggestions are good, some are bad, but don't necessarily do everything. There's like that optimization score is not it, which is part of the Google ad process, where they try to get you to approve all these recommendations so you get a higher optimization score. That's not in the best it's often not in your best interest as an advertiser, and so we often just disregard that. And then just in
I think
yeah.
it could be a big deal, because if you're trying to just do these marketing and, as a real estate agent, thinking that you could just like cross market across different channels, I'm curious, what are your recommendations for real estate agents and marketers alike to stay agile in the face of these legal changes?
Well, I would say just partner. Well, as I said, my little bullet, yeah, partner with people and companies who have aligned interests, that they know. Like with CINC, I don't want to make it a promo about CINC, but it's like we win while you win. We're a fiduciary. We invest your money where we think you will get the most leads, the best leads. So just find a company or do it yourself. You have to read up on it, and it's just the fact that Google has done a really good job of making themselves seems like they're kind of like they're hands off. It's like, well, it's the market is this is deciding, but it's not really. So just make sure that you hire whoever you hire is has your same your interest in mind, and if not, just read up on it. And it's a lot of work, and that's why Google knows it's complex, and so that's why they're able to kind of guide you to something that's more expensive.
Why it's so important, why you should partner up with something like a sync, to where they can, figure out what these issues are, and then have solutions around these for the agents to, rely on.
Exactly, because we've had all these suggestions over the years, over many years of experience, like kind of seeing when a situation happens and how to avoid it in terms of that. Yeah. So, all right, and then AI early stages. AI, not yet. It will have a huge impact on real estate advertising, and it's going to have a huge impact on every aspect of business, but it really just hasn't yet. I don't know. I don't know what you're seeing, Trenton, but because well, real estate has a lot of safeguards, like the MLS is going to block pages from getting fed up by whatever chatbots or whatever they are, or not chatbots, the chat GPT or wherever that is. And the first place where you would start to we were expecting to see some disruption was early this year. Bing was the first to launch with chat GPT, and I was expecting Bing to get a whole bunch of new market share, and that didn't happen at all. And I think it's either flat or they actually lost market share from that. So that hasn't been. And Google also launched their option too. They've incorporated AI into it. So nothing has really happened yet. Nothing in real estate, in the real estate search advertising, this niche. But in the future, wish I had more definitive to say, but yeah, change will come, but not yet. Google and Meta both have the interest in keeping it the way they are, or adding different ad types to monetize it. So because they're trying to make money, and by feeding advertising, they're not gonna like opt out of showing ads. They're going to just put additional ads on the whatever was they generate through AI. So that's so there'll always be a place to do advertising, but eventually there will be a big change. So that is but I don't know when that's going to be. It's going to be a huge the real estate industry will just be a very small part of everything that is changed by AI, but we'll see.
Well, I like that you did mention the Bing and ChatGPT. They can definitely help you as far as simplifying different tasks that you might have for real estate focused things. If you have a new listing and you weren't sure how to build it out as far as, the body tags, you could always just put in some bullet points and it'll make it super clean for you. Once you generate some of these leads through CINC, you can then use some automated responses for smart plans to follow up with. So there's definitely some opportunity out there. But yes, it's in the very early stages. And I've noticed, week on week on week, things are changing, things are improving. So I think definitely in the next 3 to 6 months, we'll want to really focus on what those changes look like and how we can help implement it into our business.
That's right. And yeah, exactly what you're saying, with the ability to write content on without the automated content is being built like that and put onto real estate websites. It's used for SEO purposes, things like that. Probably could have mentioned that in there. That's an important one, because that does have to do with the real estate lead generation. But yeah, just the ability to it's really powerful. Just the ability to create custom content, very easily. And then just wanted to point out some of the resources that are available at cincpro.com. You don't have to be a client. You can just take a look. And we have developed something called the lead value index, which indicates what are the best markets for real estate lead generation. And we put into consideration what are the costs per lead in that market for Google buyer cost per lead, as well as the median home price in those markets. And I think it's a good way to show. And we also factor in commission rates, things like that, like what percent of leads close, and then what is the what percent of commission do you expect to get. So, and then we come up with an index. And not very exciting, but the number one is Honolulu, which is a good place to be if you want to be in real estate. It is every quarter we have done it. Honolulu has been the most, it has the highest. And it's something like for $1 of advertising generates $50 worth of real estate commissions. And that is because Honolulu has a very low cost per lead, and it has very, very high home prices. And then
Hey, Dan, real quick. For those that aren't familiar what Google Real Estate Lead Value Index is, can you elaborate on that and how it's calculated?
it takes in consideration the home price, I forget how I can't go into the if you go to syncpro.com and you'll find the actual formula, but it incorporates home price and the cost per lead for Google buyer leads. Those are the two variable factors. And then it also that's where you determine what are the best markets for real estate. And then you incorporate the fact that approximately 1% of real estate leads close. We've done all the research showing that around 1% of the Google buyer leads will close. And then what are the average commission rates on that? And then you can figure out, using those 4 data points, you can figure out how much commission you could expect to get with $1 in advertising for Google buyer leads. So that is what the lead value index is. And so generally it is the higher price home markets have a higher lead value index, which kind of makes sense. Those areas generally do also have a higher Google buyer cost per lead, but the home price overwhelms that. And that would kind of make sense because like with CINC, we have a lot of clients. We have 3,000 or so clients, but they're mostly in kind of the they're more in the higher end areas than the lower end areas would make sense just because you get the better commission rates. And then but even so, it's almost a 10 times return on an investment for each dollar invested in the advertising. That takes out of consideration the platform cost, but each dollar invested in it will return around a 10 times return. 10 times return, not 10%, 10 times.
What you're saying is we could all move to Hawaii if we want to 10 times our business.
No, no, Hawaii is like 50 times. So
Honolulu.
Go to I think Honolulu. I think it's a safe bet all the way around. I think pretty much being a realtor in Hawaii, or pretty much any other job in Hawaii would be pretty good. But yeah, anyway, so go to CINC Pro, and we have you can just you don't have to, you could just look it up and download the report, and you can see all the different cities and which ones. And it's actually this, I do a lot of reports, and this is one of the more interesting ones just because it factors in a bunch of different data points, and so it changes, except for the fact that Honolulu is always #1. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention is we have something called the Super Secret Submarket Finder. And that is shows what are the submarkets in your area that perform well for real estate lead generation. This is one of the strengths of CINC. We dig down into very small submarkets. We have developed, as I said, we've spent millions of dollars with creating technology that allows us to expand on an ad like an ad campaign. We like our typical ad campaign, instead of having like 2 ad groups, which is what our competitors would do, we'll have like 200 in there. That is a mixture of drilling down into specific submarkets, specific towns, and specific neighborhoods, specific school districts, and then niching them out with adding different product types. So a campaign that would normally have 5 ad groups will have 100. And so as through that, and it's just because we've been around for so long, we've generated more leads than anybody, so we know what are the best submarkets for advertising, what has the best. And they're ones that they're usually not towns, they're usually like neighborhoods, and they're kind of like planned cities that aren't technically cities, but they're like large neighborhoods. Like in the southwest, you usually see a lot of those you can get for a lot cheaper cost per lead, because a lot of our competitors who only go by city or zip code, maybe aren't targeting them. So we're targeting areas which are in your backyard, but you don't realize it. So what I'm asking you is, all right, so if you're doing your own lead generation on your own, just go to syncpro.com, and you'll see a little pop-up that says Super Secret Submarket Finder Tool or whatever, and just request access to it, and then just put in, if you're in Scottsdale, it will show what are the areas within Scottsdale and in the area like directly around Scottsdale, which will have a better cost per lead than Scottsdale itself. And so if you're doing it on your own, you can add it to your account, and then you will get more leads. It's that simple. If you're able to do it, if the site you have currently going is allowed to use those areas, you'll get more leads. So I recommend you do that. And if you are using one of our competitors, call us up, get the top areas, and then just ask your competitor to ask your current provider to add them to your account. And if they can, or if they say yes, check back in a couple of weeks to see if they actually did it. Or if they say no, ask them why not. And a lot of times it's just that unless you have built this technology, it's extremely, it's really hard to build out an account that has 150 ad groups. It takes days, like literally days to do it. But if you have technology, we can do it in, a half an hour or something like that. So that's why a lot of our competitors don't do it. And you get kind of these dumbed down versions of an ad campaign that don't deliver as many leads as they could if they wanted to spend extra time. But anyway, that's just my suggestion. And it's also interesting because you will find that like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Like, because you'll find like some school districts do really well. Some don't provide any leads, but some, we have in near our in Marietta, where our office is, there's like 2 school districts that are like the best performing school districts in the country in terms of cost per lead and lead generation. So it's kind of weird that would be the case. But anyway, so it's an interesting thing. Just it's the super secret submarket finder tool, and just check it out. And it's interesting stuff.
That actually sounds really awesome, and pretty underrated, if you ask me. I just signed up for a call as well because I'm curious, just in my own market, what that looks like. What areas are we missing? Should we expand to this city or this market? Like you mentioned, this school district is doing really well, and and if you're not familiar with that, then it's a lot of resale homes in really high quality school districts those are the ones you want to get into. If you're ever worried about where you should buy in this city, look for those specific markets that are going to be able to grow, or people are going to want to move there because they want to be close to those things. So I think that's a great tool to help a lot of agents be able to grow there.
That's right. And yeah, you'd mentioned you're in Denver, and that's an area that I said that's one that has a lot of those planned communities that are not specifically cities, so they're not tagged by the MLS as a city, so you have to do keyword searches to get the traffic there. And so Denver generally has a pretty high cost per lead, but some of these smaller submarkets are a lot better. So it's a good example. And then we also with these, if you're looking at a neighborhood, you're probably further along in the home buying process than if you're just somebody just typing in Denver might be just like a looky-loo, but somebody who's going to Cherry Creek or whatever is more further down the road. So that's a better quality lead that way too.
Yeah, I think of areas like big metro areas that have all those sub cities all around it. With all the master plan communities in there, a lot of them you're seeing has their own school district within inside the community. And so, if you want to have that STEMs, I forget, it's like a STEM school, or you have the little private schools, that's where this tool is going to help you allocate your resources to find those.
That's right. And it's all based on data. It's 10 years of data, 35 million leads we've generated, and that's how we've got it.
Excellent. Well, as we're coming here towards the end, does anybody have any additional questions they would like to ask Dan here and the team with CINC? We can definitely get those answered. I have a question for you, Dan. With your guys' platform, and the lead gen that you guys offer, what is your suggestion as a new agent that's coming to join that wants to start lead generation? Where should they start with CINC?
Well, we always suggest to diversify your ad spend going in, just because as you know, Trenton, Google accounts when you start out do pretty, like, first couple of weeks are very rough. After around a month, you're cooking with gas, but first couple of weeks are pretty rough. So it's important to have Facebook. Facebook starts out of the gate at full strength. So when you start your platform, you want to have diversification, and because you don't want to, you're excited, you've launched, it's like, oh, I haven't gotten any leads, what's happening? So you have both Facebook and Google will have probably maybe 60% on Google versus Facebook. And then just diversification is the key. Eventually, search leads are said to close sooner than social leads, but in the long run, they close at a similar pace. So it's good to get these a diversified portfolio with these lower cost social leads with as well as the slightly higher cost search leads, and then they both close well. In 2 years they both close at the same rate. So that's our suggestion. It just diversification, because you don't know what's going to work. Like going back to Colorado Springs is a pretty rough market for Google buyer leads, and I don't know why. It just is. It has one of the highest cost per leads, but the social is really good. It has a really strong cost per lead. So you never know what's going to work in your market. So it's important to diversify.
Excellent. We did have a question about Canada. Do you guys service there? Well, actually, I guess Richard just did answer that. But maybe you can kind of expand on that. Is it just the United States, or do you guys cross-continental?
We do Canada. We have a lot, like some of our biggest clients are in Canada, and we don't do Quebec. But other than that, we do. Some of our best markets are I guess, like Halifax I think has the cheapest cost per lead of any metro in North America, or just about. And yeah, we have a lot of great clients in Canada.
Excellent. Well, if we don't have any other questions, yes, H. Coker, whoever asked that, this will be recorded and available for replay on Lab Code Agents, and that should be on our YouTube channel. Jake can type in that. Yep, he just put that in there as well. So feel free to rewatch that if you guys would like. I want to thank you, Dan, and the CINC team. Thank you, Richard, as well, for watching out on the chat there. Appreciate all the content you guys served up here. And if they want to get any information, Richard just dropped in the chat the link and the promo for to get a demo from CINC. I definitely would take advantage of a few different options that Dan has mentioned here, especially that remind me what that was called, the
super secret submarket finder tool. I kind of change the name whenever I say it, so it's.
I would definitely check that out for you guys to understand, what markets you should be in if you're not in already, and how you guys can further grow your business that way. So appreciate it, and thank you, and have a great rest of the week, Dan.
All right, thanks. You too. It's been fun.
See ya.